Hey, I'm firearms attorney Gilbert Ambler, and I am back to talk to you about why gun owners need to stop doing the right thing. And I'll explain what I mean by that in just a minute. But before we dive into this, if you have not yet hit that subscribe button, go ahead, hit subscribe for us, like this, comment, share this on social media platforms. That way you and your friends can keep getting this important Second Amendment related content. Now, what I want to talk to you about is something that I have experienced far too regularly as a criminal defense attorney, which is getting a call from somebody who has received criminal charges because they did what they thought they were supposed to do after some sort of incident happens. Here are the three most common incidents that I see where people call the police, tattle on themselves, and then get themselves into trouble, sometimes serious trouble. First issue, losing a firearm, right? If you have lost a firearm, even if you know what happened to it, maybe it's not a break-in where it was stolen, but you know you left it in a car somewhere, you left it in your friend's car, something like that. You lost a firearm. Now, there are some states that require you to report a lost or stolen firearm. I am not talking about those states. What I'm talking about is other states that do not require you to report a lost or stolen firearm. Because I have dealt with scenarios where people were, for example, illegally carrying a firearm, right? They didn't have a license to carry. They left the firearm somewhere. They then called the police up thinking they were being helpful, informing the police that they had lost a firearm, and instead the police turned around and charged them with a crime. So do not always jump to calling the police to report a lost firearm. Sometimes it makes very good sense to report a lost firearm because by reporting a lost firearm, you can head off later criminal investigations if the firearm is misused. You might get the gun back if police do find it. My advice to you, though, is if you can, talk to an attorney before making such a report. Because if you talk to an attorney, the attorney can help you understand whether there might be crimes that you could be charged with as a result of where you were carrying the firearm or where the firearm was lost. Second scenario, and this is one of the other big ones that we see people get arrested for all the time, is going to be a situation where they have had an accidental or negligent discharge. And the situation typically goes like this. Someone goes to clean their firearm, the firearm accidentally discharges, and we understand that person messed up. They didn't adequately clear the gun. They failed to follow the basic rules of firearm safety. But it happens to people. So they've got an accidental discharge or negligent discharge as people like to call it. And in return, even though they know no one has been hurt, the bullet's in the floor of their own house or in the wall of their own house, or they heavily suspect no one has been hurt, they decide to go ahead and call 911 because it's the right thing to do. What happens? Police show up, charge them with discharge of a firearm into an occupied structure. In many states, that is a felony charge. So why get that ball rolling? Sure, you messed up, you did something stupid. Why call the police and get yourself criminally charged? Learn your lesson, move on from it. Now, I will flag one caveat here, and the caveat here is if you don't know where the round went and you believe that you injured or killed somebody with the round. Because if you don't know where the round went and you believed you injured somebody with the round, you are still under no legal obligation to call and tattle on yourself. And I will tell you that there are some scenarios where I might still advise you not to call and tattle on yourself. But from a moral perspective, not a legal perspective, I understand why some people might feel obligated to call law enforcement. That way they could have a check done on their neighbor or on the neighboring apartment or wherever they think the round went to make sure that no one is going to die as a result of that round that went off. Now, of course, in this situation, if you make that decision for moral reasons, deciding that morally you want to call law enforcement and have them check on your neighbors, understand that it's very likely that you get criminally charged. All right, so from a legal perspective, we might still tell you might make sense not to call and tattle on yourself. Final thing that I see going on that people call and often get themselves charged when they did not need to get charged because they believed it to be the right thing to do is an altercation where they pull the gun on another person, the other person runs away, no one else saw this interaction go on, and we have no reason to believe that the person who's running away is calling the police but the person calls because they think it's the right thing to do because they drew their firearm, and instead police show up and arrest them for some offense related to that interaction. Again, no duty to tattle on yourself. No duty. So why do it? Why start the investigation if you don't have to? At a bare minimum, reach out to an attorney who's experienced with this type of subject matter and get some advice from that attorney before you go start this investigation that's going to target yourself. If you enjoyed this content, go ahead, hit subscribe, tell your friends. Until next time.